From riding horses to drifting cars, here are the hardest scenes to film in the John Wick franchise. And as all action movies do, the John Wick franchise has a lot of difficult stunts and scenes. One of the most impressive things about these movies is the incredible stunts and fight choreography that Keanu Reeves pulls off on screen. Recently, in an interview with Collider, Reeves revealed which scenes from the franchise were the most challenging to shoot. He picked a few highlights from all 4 films, including 2 from the upcoming John Wick Chapter 4. Unsurprisingly, the John Wick movies have earned critical acclaim for their devotion to technically challenging and intricately coordinated action scenes. And it's even more impressive when you consider that Reeves often does his own stunts. So, what scene did he consider difficult to film? Well, one of them was the horse scene in the 3rd installment. In John Wick Chapter 3, Keanu Reeves rides a horse up 5th Avenue in New York City. But it wasn't really Manhattan, it was actually Brooklyn. And it was a pretty complex production, requiring permits, trained horses, and a lot of coordination with the Humane Society, just to make sure all animal welfare laws were being followed on set. And as for Reeves, he had a bit of a challenge with this scene. Thing is, he's actually allergic to horses. Oh, the irony. He had to take extra precautions to make sure he didn't have an allergic reaction during filming. Despite the challenges, the scene was one of the most memorable and craziest in the movie. I could watch it again right now, and maybe I will. But another crazy scene that was apparently really hard to film was the dance party scene. I'm sure we all remember that epic dance party fight scene in John Wick Chapter 2. Well, it turns out it was actually pretty tricky for Keanu Reeves to film. For starters, he had to learn a whole choreographed fight sequence, which is never easy. But then add in the fact that he had to do it all while dodging people dancing around him, and it gets even trickier. Not to mention the scene was shot in a club, with lots of flashing lights and loud music, which can be disorienting and make it hard to focus. Plus, the scene was all one continuous shot, so there was no room for error. Despite all the challenges, Keanu and the rest of the cast and crew pulled it off perfectly. This scene has become one of the most memorable moments in the John Wick franchise, thanks to their hard work and dedication. Seems like the whole team has shown the same dedication and hard work in the new John Wick film as well, because there's a crazy car scene in the 4th chapter of the franchise that was really hard to shoot. If you've seen the trailer for the new film, I'm sure you were just as amazed as I was at the crazy car scene. Well, it was filmed on the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. How cool is that? And of course, Reeves did the stunts himself. There were crazy driving techniques, like 180 turns, forward and backward, 270 back and forth turns, and drifting. Of course, Reeves did the stunts himself. And obviously, it wasn't easy for the actor to shoot this scene. He had to do a lot of intense driving maneuvers, and it was pretty difficult to get everything just right. Plus, shooting on location in Paris added an extra layer of challenge to the whole thing. But despite the difficulties, Reeves had a positive outlook on the experience. He said he was thrilled to learn all sorts of new driving techniques, and everyone involved in the shoot is super excited about how the scene turned out. It's going to be an adrenaline-filled ride for sure. However, this wasn't the only brutal scene he had to shoot for the new film. There's another one that's been featured in the trailer. You'd be wrong if you thought Reeves suffered enough with horses in the last chapter. There's another intense horse riding scene in the new film. In the new trailer for John Wick Chapter 4, Reeves is on a horse again. This time, he's being chased through a desert by other horse riders. It's a pretty intense scene and will have us on the edge of our seats, just like that epic horse chase in John Wick 3. Plus, it's a cool change of pace from the motorcycle riding enemies in the last movie. But like last time, the actor had a bit of a challenge filming this scene. And yes, it's because of his allergies. Again. So, in order to pull off this sequence, he had to take antihistamines and wear special clothing to protect himself from the allergens. But you can't even tell from the trailer. He looks totally badass on that horse. It seems there are a lot of action-packed moments in store for us in John Wick Chapter 4. There's another one involving a tricky staircase sequence. In the Sacré-Cœur stairway scene in the John Wick Chapter 4 trailer, Reeves had to perform a long and physically demanding fight sequence while running up a steep set of stairs. This type of action requires a lot of endurance and athleticism, and it's no easy feat to make it look convincing and realistic on camera. To prepare for the scene, Reeves had to undergo intense training and conditioning to build up his stamina and strength. He worked closely with his stunt team to choreograph the fight moves and ensure his safety during the scene. Despite all the preparation, filming the scene was still incredibly challenging for Reeves. The long takes and intense physical exertion required him to push himself to his limits, and he even suffered a few injuries during the shoot. There's a reason Reeves called the latest film the most difficult film he's had to make in his whole life. It's pushed him to his limits, and it makes for a fantastic watch too. But while we're all looking forward to the franchise's new installment, I can't forget where it all started. Yep, the first chapter of John Wick had an attack scene that Reeves found particularly difficult to make. This action scene was notoriously difficult for Reeves to film for several reasons. Firstly, the scene required a lot of physical exertion and stamina. It involved Reeves taking on multiple opponents in hand-to-hand combat, while also performing complex choreography. Reeves underwent extensive martial arts and firearms handling training to prepare for the role. But even with this preparation, the scene was very demanding and required him to perform numerous takes. Additionally, the scene was shot in a tight, confined space, which made it challenging for both Reeves and the camera crew to maneuver. The close quarters made it difficult for the crew to capture all of the action without getting in the way. He also had to be very precise in his movements to avoid colliding with the walls or other actors. Finally, the scene also involved a significant amount of gunplay, which required Reeves to handle firearms safely and realistically. He worked closely with the film's weapon experts to ensure he followed proper safety protocols and used the guns correctly. But the complexity of the scene added an extra layer of difficulty to the already challenging shoot. Easy to say it came out simply brilliant and set the standard for the rest of the films. Anyway, seems like the fourth and latest installment of the film has a lot of amazing action scenes. The team's hard work and dedication, especially that of Keanu Reeves, really shines through when we see the final product.
I'm grateful for the audience that has given me and everyone involved the opportunity to continue to explore the world of John Wick. It's a great pleasure.
Anyway, that was all for the most challenging scenes to film in the John Wick franchise. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.